Well, it's an honour to be able to call this national project of engagement with women Wiyi Yani U Thangani, which is Voices of Women in my language, Bonoba. Coming from Fitzroy Crossing and leading the women's organisation as the CEO for 12 years, there are some fantastic insights that Fitzroy could offer into this process and share with the other women in and across the community that we visited. It was important for the women in the community to have access to this national engagement process, to be able to be included, to be able to share of their experiences, their achievements, and their ongoing challenges. There are many strong women in the 5 language groups in the Fitzroy Valley. There are many fantastic examples of their leadership and their achievements. I know that they're willing to share that with other women across the country.
We all want to see our people succeed in life, not go down a road where it's nothing. So I think that's where she's coming from.
Great the project came to Fitzroy, and it was great to see all the women together, you know, talking and sharing and focusing on the strengths of the Fitzroy women, Fitzroy women in the community.
Flying onto Mer was very emotional, very mixed, excited to be here, but also acknowledging that this is the birthplace of native title for all Indigenous Australians, and also the resting place of the man that led the case against the Crown and won at many levels and made it possible for many Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people to pursue their rights to their lands and waters and be recognised in the Western courts, the Western system. And so we're able to exercise that right because of the fight that was carried by the people of Mer. To be able to visit the late Koiki Eddie Mabo's place of rest with senior elders of the community was an absolute privilege and an honour. It was very humbling, and to be able to be there to acknowledge him and to just be in the presence of the man and his land, to just be there was so important and so necessary. We're doing this because the last time that all our voices were joined up together was in 1986. So we're saying 32 years is a long time to give us an opportunity to have a say as women and girls across the country.
I hope that it puts the issues that we, the women of Mabo, have put on the table, that some of it end up on the desk of those that have the power to look at our concerns and take our solutions seriously.
So if I give it to the Prime Minister, so I want the Prime Minister to know what you want to say to the Prime Minister. Might be the same one, might be a new one. What would you like to change? And how would that change look like in the best way for you? So you give us the detail, because we don't live here, we don't know what your issues are that you want to change. So we're asking you to give us the detail. And we'll communicate that up to government, to the people who are making decisions about what they think is important for you. So I come to you as a community worker, like many of you, working in community, making sure that everyone is respected and has a say, that nobody else's voice is far more important than your voice. You have a voice, and you have a right to your voice, and you speak your truth.
It's really important that the Torres Strait women and the Torres Strait get some input into on a national level. We are a second, Indigenous peoples of Australia, brothers and sisters on the mainland, but also keeping in mind that we're up here and we are still part of Australia. And I get very offended every time I go down to Sydney and they ask me if it's the first time I've been to Australia. Yeah.
It's important that we had this input and really commend Dr. June Oscar and her team for coming and engaging with us. We would like our voices to be heard at the highest level. And it was good the fact that we had some questions around what would you like to say to the Prime Minister? And they're type of questions that our women would never have been asked. So having that opportunity to say, okay, you have this opportunity to say something to the Prime Minister, what would you like to say? It sent a strong message that their voices are important. And I think that was a good insight to how this process will enable voices of women, including the Torres Strait, homeland Torres Strait Islanders, to be up there and say, this is what we would like to see for our future. This is what we value. This is what's important to making our communities better and importantly for our kids.
If the sea levels keep on rising, we can't keep on building the seawalls, concrete seawalls. Like, people will have to be relocated eventually, which means losing your connectiveness to land. What are we going to do? Our loved ones are buried here. Everything about life for these people up there will be impacted upon. And I think we need to be aware and to be prepared for how we do respond in support of these families and these women, these community members, making that huge adjustment in time.
So on behalf of the Women Commissioner, Dr. June Oscar, I want to thank you as well for coming, taking time to come and talk to us. And then things we tell you from our hearts.
It was a humbling experience last night when we had the community feasting and we gathered together to share a meal, to hear the speeches, to be part of the dancing, singing. It was incredible and it was so emotional but very humbling. And that speaks to the fact that whilst there's difficulties and challenges in our daily lives, we have to find room to celebrate the strengths. And so hearing the songs about life here and what's important was very important for us. And I carry that as I leave here today. Take those songs and remember the smiles and the laughter and the singing. As an Aboriginal woman living in Sydney, for me, Redfern is really, really important. It's important because we can come to a place and feel a sense of place and belonging and be part of a community. So the contact and the networks that we have built around the community of Redfern is so important for our survival in our everyday lives here in Australia's biggest city. So coming to Redfern to hear from the women who interact in this community or have lived here or continue to live here, that was really important for us.
There was no dictating. We own that conversation as a group, as a gathering of women. The conversation, it becomes a sharing, which is in us to do, And I'm not like, I can't say this, I can't say that. Well, the space was there. You could have said anything you liked. And, you know, and not very many people can come and open that up.
We're not going to start this process off from a deficit. We're tired of that. We're going to talk about what makes us strong, what makes us get up each day and do the many things that we do. What makes us strong as black women in this country? So we're approaching this in a very strong human rights framework, a strong human rights way of engagement. So it's important that you know we're here to hear from every single one of you.
I hope a lot comes out of it. You know, because we go to meeting and things and talk about this and talk about that and do this, and then nothing happens. And that's the letdown. You know, like we went to a lot of big meetings, you know, but we thought things were going to happen, but nothing happened. But this year, it's good.
I'm hoping after this project that there'll be some sort of framework that will come out, that we can go back to government, to our leaders and say, hey, this is what the women have said, this is what we want, and these are the actions. And yeah, we will definitely be reminding them on a day-to-day and regular basis.
So I think after the conversation of women's voices that was held here, women wanted to continue that yarning. And I think the opportunity of the women's voices has really shown them that can happen. Coming out of that, the yarning circles has really proved that something can happen from these consultations.
To acknowledge the Indigenous women and girls of this country, that they are important, that they have a right to their voice, that people have an obligation and responsibility to hear from them of their priorities and to act on what those priorities are as identified by Indigenous women and girls.
If the Australian government is really serious about, you know, when you endorse an amazing woman to head up the Social Justice Commission of Australia, and she's done something like bringing the gatherings of women all across, you know, in all our regions, there's something to be said about that. And people's inputs, I think, was so important, and I'm pretty sure the common thread amongst all of it was, we're here, we've got something to say, we're going to share it, and we're passing it over to our commissioner, who's going to support us and endorse it. And the government here, instead of just hearing from those little groups here and there, this is a mass. There's a mob of us. Yeah.